Amber, can you say hello? Say hello. Come on. Say hello. I promise you my cat can say hello. One day I'm going to get it on video. Morning everyone. Today we're going to head to Sarnia to see what we can find. It's a beautiful day for driving, so before the weather gets too bad, that's what we're going to do. Value Village, Sarnia. Hello everyone. Sarnia was a big success as far as what I was able to find there and bring home. I'm going to now show you some of the items that I picked up that are, I think, a little more significant. There's a lot of stuff in there that's just, it's good for me in my booth, but it's just not interesting for a video, so I'm going to leave that stuff out. So let's start off with what we found at the Value Village. So I've been looking for a while for the Sunshine Family figures. These were released in the 70s. as competition to Mego at the time. Mego was just running the show in the 70s with all their licensing. Licensing was easier to get back then, so they had a license for everything. So I believe it's Kenner. They released, I'll check, but I think it was Kenner. They released the Sunshine Family, which has since become known as one of the creepiest doll sets that has ever been released, particular back then. But it was in the showcase, so it was a little more expensive than I usually like to pay, but I do have things that I look for. So there was a little baby in there, and the baby's a little harder to get, so I was happy to see that. I didn't even see it at first, but when she took the bag out for me, I was like, oh yeah, I'll take it. The baby tends to go for a little bit more. Here's the mother. She has an interesting dress on, which I also thought might be of value. Sometimes the clothing is more valuable than the dolls themselves. These dolls actually are in pretty good shape. She's still got little sandals on her feet, which I think is significant because footwear obviously is always going to get lost because if kids are playing with these toys. Gone. And I got, well, Pantsless Daddy. I'll leave my hand here. He needs a haircut, but or maybe just some gel. But he's pretty good too. He's not bitten or broken. His joints are very, very good still for his age, which is like over 40 years now. Anyway, I picked those up because individually they wouldn't sell for a whole lot. I'll show you at the end of the video some of the comps that you might find. But I do have one of the pickup trucks that I found at a Goodwill probably a year ago, and I've been looking for these to sell as a bundle in my booth because that right away ramps up their value to any collectors who are out there looking for these creepy little. You saw me rummaging around on the wall for the toys and some of the homeware as well. I found a bag full of these little army men, which are Star Wars army men. They were released probably about 4 or 5 years ago. They, on the secondary market, do really well, so I always pick them up and see what's in there. Got some really good condition characters. There's always some that have like a little bit of coloring to them, and there's also the more popular characters in this bag as well, like R2-D2, and we've also got some spaceships in there. So that was a good catch. It was hidden behind some of the others, but I was able to, after a while, you just recognize shapes and color scheme. Glass fruit is quite popular right now. It's difficult to know. I'm not an expert in glass, but I do recognize the quality of these two particular pieces. They're a little more than I usually pay, but I do think it's worth it because these are definitely not your regular knockoff glass that you can sometimes even get at the dollar store. Even that's popular though, because if you do have a set of glass in a bowl, maybe you're missing a piece of corn or a celery or a pear, and you can fill that little gap with even with the cheap stuff. I never charge a lot for this stuff in my booth because I just think I don't know enough about it. But in this particular case, I'm going to do some research on these. I do think because of the coloring, they're so beautiful and there's no nicks or chips. These I think are a little bit more valuable, and especially to a collector who would recognize them right away. One is a gourd and one is a red pepper. I was thrilled to find this little egg cup. I would say it's Japan. It doesn't have a marking, but I would think it's Japan. Sense for its age. There's a locket on her neck and some beautiful blush work on her face, as well as even the hair has a lot of detail and depth to it. I have a couple of these somewhere. I usually pick these up because I like to match them up with things that I have found in the past. Sometimes I'll find them and their partner will be chipped or missing. or just downright broken. So it's nice to have a few of these, and once you can pair them up, you can either sell them on eBay, because these probably would do pretty well on there, or they would just go back into the booth, and a collector would eventually find them there as well. And along the same lines, I've got this cheeky little cup. I love her handle. It's an arm with a little bit of attitude. Again, the facial expression is amazing. I thought it was faded at first, but it actually looks like it's intended to be a very light color. Again, it does have a Japan marking on it, so I do know that it's a little bit older. This one will sit on my shelf for a while. If I can find more like this, I will group them together in the booth, or I will sell them on Max Sold as a set. I think I have another one somewhere because it looks awfully familiar, but yeah, I've got a lot of boxes to go through to find it, so hopefully I'll eventually find a partner for it, and yeah, find a new home. One of the little baggies that was on the wall with some of the homeware had this tiny little candle hugger, just beautiful. I'd never seen one quite like this. It doesn't really have that old glazed look to it. Looks a little more modern, but it says Japan on it. And from the research I did on this, they are a little bit older, so probably 70s or 80s. The candle, it's mine. I did not find that recently, but I thought it would look cute hanging on there, so I included it just for demonstration. Definitely a Christmas item that I would put out in my booth around that time. I won't make a huge profit on it, but I do like to rescue things just for their uniqueness and their age, and I hate to see them in those little baggies because they will quite often get chipped or dinged or nicked. So I'm very careful with them if I do find them, and I try to rescue them when I can. And even if I break even, I'm happy that someone who loves the item will be able to use it and display it for their Christmas decorations, or any time of the year really, because it doesn't really have a Christmas vibe to it, but you know, it could be Valentine's as well, I guess. And here we have a Bluebird of Happiness. I don't find a lot of these. I don't know if they just weren't that popular in Canada or in this part of Canada, but every once in a while I'll run across one and I'll always grab it up if I see it. This one was only $4, so with my discount coupon, with a little bit of money off, definitely worth it for that. These sell for about $20 on eBay, and I think that even in the booth, they just really brighten up the booth. There's a lot of people out there looking for them. This one is authentic. You can tell from the weight and from the color depth in the blue. It's just a gorgeous little example of a Bluebird of Happiness. So I was happy to find that one. I mean, obviously, because it's a Bluebird of Happiness. And yeah, I think that one will do quite well finding it. These are handles used for macrame purses or for bags, knitted bags. They were quite popular in the 70s and 80s, but boho is very much in again. Some areas it's kind of petered out a bit, but around here it's still popular, and I always pick these up for my sister. Quite often find them at the Goodwill outlet, but in this case I found them in Value Village, so I grabbed them up because they're just too cool to leave behind. I was very happy to find this Hazelton mouse figure. I don't know if they're pewter or aluminum or what kind of metal they are. It's got a bit of an inscription on the bottom which tells me he's probably authentic. I'll look them up and see what some of the comps are, but I just have an instinct about some of these. This looks like a mid-century piece, and he's just cute no matter what he is. He would definitely sell in my booth, and possibly because of his size, I could even do well on eBay with him. And if both of those fail, then I would definitely put him on a Max Sold auction, because yeah, there's definitely collectors looking for this kind of stylistic animal, and this mouse is a really good representation of the Hazelton style. So I picked up two of these bud vases. They are marked USA, and also they're marked as 22 karat gold. From what I can find out online, they are either from the 40s or the early 50s. Not quite sure. They do come in various colors, but I happen to have two blue ones. They're quite lovely, and I don't see any chips or nicks or flea bites on them. And from the comps, they do quite well on eBay. I tend to not send glassware on eBay. I do have a good formula for wrapping, so I've never had anything break, but there is that risk. And for me, something that's older than me, if it's breaking in the mail, that's just tragic. So I try to find local collectors for stuff like this, either on the marketplace. It's probably what I'll try first. And if that doesn't work, it's definitely going to go in my booth at that point, and eventually onto Max Sold as a last resort. Before I move on to Goodwill, I wanted to show you some of the things I look for in the little plastic bags that are on the walls at Value Village and at Goodwill as well at times. But I usually find better luck at Value Village as far as these items go. I found a little Hot Wheel in one of the Hot Wheel bags. This one is a Star Wars vehicle. It's pretty recent, but they're not that easy to come by. Here's a vintage Power Ranger. Forget his name, but he's from the Power Rangers. This, I believe, is a cereal premium. It probably came with Nabisco cereal. I've got some Imaginext characters, and I don't know if he's Imaginext or if he is Playmobil. Really vintage Playmobil motorcycle, which was kind of cool. I'm always looking for little minifigs from Lego or for Fisher-Price. And I've got, I don't generally like the McDonald's promotionals, but these Muppets were one of the first promotionals they did, and that I always keep my eyes open for. This is memorabilia from Newfoundland. It is a lighter holder, so I thought that was kind of interesting as well. There's always people looking out for anything related to smoking or matches, or that it has its own term. I forget it at the moment, but so I keep my eye open for that as well. And a money clip from Palm Springs, which I thought was also cool. And then just various little randos that I put together in a bag. I collect them together that have a similar theme, and I tend to sell them on in my booth, or I sell them on eBay depending on their value. On to Goodwill. Anyone who knows me knows I can't go to a thrift store without checking out the little golden books. I am addicted to them, and they sell really well in my booth. So for usually around $1, usually less than $1, I can pick up a bunch. I usually look for their distinctiveness. This one in particular I've never seen before, so I picked that one up, even though inside it does have a child's autograph. That doesn't deter collectors, because in general collectors are looking for the condition of the book, the color, how bright it is, the licensing. They're looking for things like that. So obviously these are children's books and they're going to be written in. I do look if there are rips and tears, because that sometimes will prevent me from picking them up. But I do love the golden books, and I do have a really nice display stand in my booth for them. And when I'm there stocking, I quite often hear people commenting on the variety and diversity of golden books. There are a lot of them out there, and it always surprises me when I find one that I've never seen before. I do have Scooby-Doo ones, even modern ones, but this one in particular I've never seen before. So that's always fun when I go through those books, and yeah, I'll add it to my collection at the booth and find a new home for it. Train collectors are quite prominent in the antique malls. They're always looking for items that they can include in their collection, and I'm always looking for little model kits like this one. This one's a good price at $3.50 from the Goodwill. It's complete. I looked inside. A lot of the parts are still in the bag. It will go into my booth. I'll have to do a comp check on eBay. They're nice and light, so they would sell really well on eBay, and the shipping wouldn't be astronomical. So I'll do that check first, but very likely it will end up in my booth, maybe for, $10, $15, depending on what I can find out when I do my reading. Mad Magazine's not as popular as they used to be. Comic books are still a bit more popular than just the Mad Magazines, but there are still collectors out there, and I've had them come through my booth looking for some of this stuff. So I ran across this particular book. It was $3, I think. I did some comp lookups, and it looks like they sell for about $20 on eBay. I would never ship something this heavy and bulky through eBay, because the shipping would probably be more than what it was worth. That's one of my rules of thumb, that I don't ship something that's less than the shipping. It's just not worth it for me, my time. But it's in really good shape. It still has a pull-out poster inside. So any collector who goes through the booth, it may sit for a while there, but eventually it will get picked up. I won't put too high a price on it. I have a formula that I usually use when I find something. So this may end up being about $15, maybe $20, depending. But yeah, so I'm not looking to make huge profits on these items. I'm just looking to make new homes for them, because I know that there are people out there that want them, and I would be ashamed to find this at the Goodwill outlet ending up in the landfill. So I like to avoid that if I can. Sometimes you got to take a chance on things, and in this case, I'm taking a chance on this really cool framed matchbook collection that I found. It was about $4 for the frame. The frame itself is probably worth that if I were to resell it, but the matchbooks themselves, I don't know if you can really see them with the reflection or the glare, but really old. I'd say they're probably about 40s, 1940s or 50s. With some very cool artwork on them. And I don't know the whole story behind it, but it seems like a law firm was using them to promote themselves in Texas, and someone got a hold of them, and a collector decided to frame them. Really nice frame. It'll be a nice item for my booth. I don't think it would sell on eBay for very much. Plus, it's a little heavy, so I wouldn't sell it there. If all else, I will put it on Max Sold eventually, because I do think Max Sold has a pretty good reach for collectors who are looking for things that they could possibly get for cheap, and definitely it would go for more than what I paid for it. So that's always an option for me. Model kits, always popular as well. This is definitely the sort of thing I would find a comp for. I've sold a few model kits on eBay, and the older ones tend to go for a pretty good amount. So there are some really dedicated collectors out there looking for them, especially right now with lockdowns and what have you. People are looking for things to do at home because they don't go out as much as they used to, at least for now. Plus winter's coming up, and it's very much a winter activity. This one is complete. It's in really good condition for being probably about 20 years old, and I paid a little much for it, but I think I'll definitely make my money back. And yeah, once I find some comps, it may go on eBay or it will go in my booth. Keep your eye open for vintage glassware. Always sells good in my booth. A lot of people would leave this sort of stuff behind, but I'm always looking for, especially unique colors. I really love these Corningware glasses. They come in various patterns, and side by side in my booth they look fantastic. And I also love these kind of Pyrexy looking Corningware as well. I have those in various colors, so they also look good. And of course Tupperware, very good seller. I quite often will just save the Tupperware and sell that on Max Sold as well. Viking glass, I don't like to leave that behind. A lot of it is knockoff, but I never put it too high as a price point. And people smarter than me with glass, they will see it in my booth, and they will pick it up if it's something they're looking for, and they will leave it if it's not. So that always is education for me as well, as I learn more and more about glassware. And you always have to think seasonally for the booth. There are seasons that come and go very quickly, and when you see something that would match one of the seasons, try and pick it up. I picked this up for St. Patrick's Day. I think it's either for cigarettes or for possibly toothpicks. I'm not sure, but I just found it so cute, and it's also in really good condition. Thank you for joining me today as I go through some of the items that I picked up in Sarnia at the Value Village and the Goodwill there. It was a good time, and I had fun looking up some of the items. I hope you'll join me again as I have more adventures, and in the meanwhile, here are some of the items and their comps.